Since these new visas and entry requirements have been announced, I'm seeing a lot of stuff pop up online about it, and not all of it is good if I'm completely honest. The changes were supposed to roll out in June. It's now June 21st, and the changes are yet to take place. So why don't you come for a walk with me this morning? I'm out on my morning walk through Bangkok, and we'll discuss exactly what's happening with the whole visa situation here in Thailand. Now, I'll quickly bring you up to speed on what I'm talking about. So recently the DTV visa was announced, which is targeted at digital nomads and people wanting to stay in Thailand for long periods of time. Now, I won't dive too deep into the whole visa thing. There's 1,000 videos already online. People have done great videos explaining exactly what the visa is, but there are some key points that I want to go over. So in a nutshell, this is a 180-day visa that allows people to stay in Thailand. You can work remotely. This can be extended. So essentially you'd be able to stay for a year or just under a year. And this is the first real push that Thailand's done towards the digital nomad visa. So it is a really positive thing. Now, digging into this visa, there's a lot to unpack. There are some positives and some negatives that I'll go over in this video, and we'll discuss them. And there are a lot of questions that I have that I'm not able to find out the information for, and I'm sure you have the same questions. So I am starting out my walk this morning along the Klong San Seep Canal, which I really enjoy walking along. It's a nice walk, it's easy, and no soy dogs, which is a nice bonus. Okay, first up, let's get into expectations versus reality. This is typical for Thailand. So the changes were announced and it said it was going to roll out in June, and as I said, it's June 21st and the changes still haven't been put into place. One thing I know a lot of people are looking forward to is the 60 days on arrival instead of the typical 30 for the qualifying countries. Now, this is not changed yet. I spoke with someone yesterday who arrived about a week ago and he said he still only got the 30-day stamp. I managed to find an online article this morning says the changes will roll out in June. It just didn't mean June 1st. So we experienced this a lot during the pandemic. There will be changes announced really quickly, sort of effective tomorrow. And while the changes may have been put into place effective tomorrow, the regulations put in place effective tomorrow, it still takes time on the back end for all these changes to be made. So according to the article I read this morning, it will still roll out in June. It's just not said when, but there's 10 days left. So first off, we'll start off with some good news because I'm hearing a lot online about this. I'm having a lot of people ask me personally if I know about this, and this is all around the whole tax situation. So tax can get super complicated here. The great news is if you are on this visa and you're coming out here, you do not need to pay tax. You don't need to be registered with a tax ID and have to report everything, because most of these countries, Australia being one of them, US, UK, most of the countries that you would be watching from, we have tax treaties with Thailand. So it does get really complicated. For me, I have an accountant here, I have an accountant in Australia, they have to liaise with each other. It goes way over my head. It gets very, very confusing, but great news for this visa is you don't need to worry about that. I said no soy dogs, but wow, that scared the hell out of me. Next up, we'll talk about some of the questions that we don't currently have answers for and things you should definitely take into consideration if you're planning to make the move out here and you're waiting for this visa. These are things you're going to want to know before planning everything and making the move. So first up, let's talk about the length of the visa. And this is something I think there's a lot of misinformation about, and something I think people are quite confused about. So it's said that the visa is valid for 5 years, but that doesn't mean this is a 5-year visa that you can keep renewing. Currently, the wording for all the articles and all the information that I look at, it says it can be renewed once. Now, that doesn't mean you can't apply for a new one after that period, but essentially you can only renew it once while you're here in Thailand. Now, are you allowed to reapply for this visa? We don't have that information yet. I imagine that if you are, you would have to be out of the country to apply for it like you do for most visas. So what does this mean? If you are allowed to have this visa more than once, then you will need to leave the country just under every single year to go renew that visa and reapply. Now, the next question that there is no definite answer for yet, I see a lot of speculation online, but there's no definite answer, nothing's in writing, and that's, is this a multi-entry visa or a single entry visa? Because I came here, for example, on the STV visa, which was something they had back during COVID. but that was single entry. If you left the country to go visit somewhere else when you came back, you needed to reapply for a whole new STV visa. Now, will this be the same for the DTV? I don't know, no one has the answer for that yet, but that is something to definitely take into consideration, because if you want to go take a trip somewhere or you want to go back home, then that will mean you need to reapply for the visa, and these visas aren't cheap. They're 10,000 baht for the application for the 180 days. If you wish to extend it, that's another 10,000 baht. These will ultimately cost you 20,000 baht a year. That's provided it's a single entry and you don't leave the country, or it is a multi-entry. And again, we don't have that information yet. I'll keep you updated as we hear more. Now, if you are coming out here to Thailand, one thing I definitely recommend doing is getting yourself a VPN. And those of you that know me know I've been using and recommending Surfshark basically since I moved out here. Now, there are two main reasons why I recommend having a VPN here in Thailand, or basically anywhere you go. And number one, I was hacked on a public Wi-Fi here really early on in living out here. This is really, really scary, and a VPN can help protect you from that. Number two is a lot of streaming services don't seem to work here, or they don't show all the shows for whatever reason. So you can change your location to get around all of that. Now, I've got a great promo code you can use. That's KEYS1. And as I take a look at the website, there is awesome specials on there at the moment. I can see 4 months extra, up to 84% off. These are amazing deals, and this is what I used when I first signed up when I moved out here. So check out Surfshark. All the information, everything you need to know is down in the description below. There is also a QR code here that you can scan, and make sure you stay safe and protected when you travel. All right, so let's jump into some of the positives for this visa, because I do think it is a great visa. First up, it's quite easy to get. I guess the only challenge is you need to have 500,000 baht in the bank, which seems like a lot, but that's just the requirements, I guess. But the great thing is this is just a visa that you will apply with the consulate. You don't need to go through a visa agent. You don't need to jump through a bunch of hoops. It should be quite as easy as basically getting the tourist visa. Just to clarify, that's the TR visa, not the visa on arrival. And basically all you need to do is fill out a form and send a copy of all the paperwork that they require, and that's it. The second positive is that it's a 6-month visa that can be renewed once while you're in the country. So essentially you can stay for 360 days, which is amazing. If the visa has an unlimited amount of times that you're able to renew the visa, or you're able to reapply, then this is the dream visa. This is a really easy one to get. You don't have to mess around with visa agents. People can't take advantage of you. Well, actually, not entirely. So this brings me to some of the negatives that I'm starting to see about this visa. Now, the best thing about this visa is that people shouldn't be able to take advantage of you because you apply through the consulate. But what I'm seeing is actually the opposite. So I am already seeing on Facebook some visa agents are advertising you can apply for the DTV through us. It's 20,000 baht. So that is ridiculous. Do not pay that. The visa is 10,000 baht to apply. There may be some little processing fees on top of that, but they'll be very small. And you apply for that directly through the consulate, so you won't need to go through a visa agent. Any visa agent that's trying to charge ridiculous prices on top of that is essentially ripping you off. Now, this happens with all the visas. I hear of tons of people that are here on education visas, and I hear people paying all sorts of different amounts for them. Some people pay 30,000 baht for them. Some people are paying 100,000 baht for them. Again, with this visa, you don't need to go through a visa agent, so just keep an eye out for that. The next thing that I'm starting to see, God, people are getting so crafty with all these things. I'm seeing ads targeted at people that want to come out here on the DTV visa, and they help you find a condo. And the condo prices that they're charging are ridiculous. Now, where this works is for people that aren't that familiar with Thailand or are quite naive about the whole thing, because the prices that they're advertising are way overpriced. And I do see people paying these prices online quite a lot. There's this new wave of how much do you pay for rent in Bangkok videos going all over TikTok and everything. And when I see the prices that people are paying for these apartments, yes, it may be cheap compared to back home, but it is still way, way overpriced for what you should be paying in Bangkok. I see people paying like 50,000 baht to live in condos that aren't anything special here, and I'm just like, God, why? So I'll leave down in the description, I'll leave a couple of links for websites that I use to get an idea of exactly what the condos are worth here. And something to keep in mind is you can also really negotiate quite a lot with the price. So whatever you're given as the initial price is not what you have to settle on. You can actually bring them down quite a fair bit. Something that is not like back home is there's no rental housing crisis here. It is really easy to get a place. Pretty much every single condo in the city has availability. My condo, as an example, is at 30% occupancy. That is about the norm for all the condos within my area. There is way more condos than people here, so you actually have the leverage when trying to negotiate a deal. So just be wary of any of these package deals you see popping up. It's people trying to take advantage. The visa is 10,000 baht to apply, 10,000 baht to renew, which is expensive enough as it is. You don't need to go through a visa agent for that. You just apply with the consulate. I imagine the process is quite simple, but still, it clearly doesn't stop people from having a crack at trying to rip you off. So this is the... God, I'm not even going to try and say the name of this university. I'll put it on the screen down here. But this is a nice place to come walk around, and the university is here. You can actually come and walk around. You don't need to be a student at the university to come check them out. Much friendlier than the dogs. I like dogs, just some of them are scary here. So I want to end this on a positive, and that is that I think this is a really, really good visa. I just recommend just waiting a little bit before you start to make plans to come out here. Just make sure those questions that we have are answered. Can you renew it multiple times? Can you get multi-entry? If it is single entry, does it cancel when you leave the country and you need to get a new one? What is the process like to reapply once this is done? And can you keep doing it over and over again? Because the last thing you want is to be out here getting settled after a year and then find out the visa, you can't renew it, or you have to get a different one. You're sort of scrambling to find visa options to be able to stay here once you're settled. Now, if all that works out for the best, and this is awesome, this is the dream visa, especially with not having to pay tax or worry about all that stuff, I might have to make the switch. It's 10,000 baht for 6 months or 20,000 baht a year, which is a lot, but I mean, compared to what I hear, some of the people paying for education visas here, it's actually a great deal. So as always, I will keep you updated on the latest of what's happening with this as we hear more. As I said, there's 10 days left of the month, so hopefully by the end of the month we have a little more information, but as of now, this is the most current information that I've been able to find. So thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one.